Hi everybody, welcome back to our Rider Realty discussion, and today we're going to be talking about how your price should be listed, how that's determined. And I want to put in a couple of disclaimers at the front. One is that some of you might not like what I have to say, and I'm sorry. And the other thing is I get it, because my husband and I have sold multiple properties, and I can tend to be the same way, or one of us can tend to be the same way. And there's also a lot of emotions that play into determining a listing price for a house. So let's start with a story, because I think that is a great way to explain things. Not that long ago, I had a couple looking at a house. We were looking at a house not terribly far from where we live in our county, and we almost didn't see it because the pictures inside made it look like there is no way that list price makes sense, like not even close. And it wasn't, they weren't great pictures, but it wasn't that. It was just what it looked like. In terms of like colors on the wall and how some of the rooms were done, it just didn't make sense that that was what they would list this house for. But because of their situation, like we really needed to see it. We needed to see several houses. They needed to find something. And so very last minute, we made a decision to see the house. The agent was so nice, very nice. And she said, I am allowed to tell you this, the seller will only go off of their price like $2,000. And I'm like, okay. And then we are discussing, the house and what improvements they've done. And I said, I saw what they bought it for, at this time, whatever. And she literally is telling me, I know it's priced too high, like way too high, but this is what they wanted to sell it for. So what happened, and I don't know what kind of, if it was maybe the seller kind of had a domineering personality, and she was more timid, or if she was assertive and they just didn't listen and essentially they won. But it was listed higher than even their own agent thought it should be. And so I told my buyers, like, this is where they're at. I'm supposed to tell you this. She was supposed to disclose it. And we went through it with hopes that it would really be worth that. The market, is pretty crazy, and things are selling well. And this was probably a month or so ago, and then, a month or so before I'm recording this. So it was making sense. So we went through it, and we're like, oh my goodness, there's no way. Now, the house did have some really nice features that we couldn't necessarily see online. Some things with the basement, some things with the yard, where the house sat on the lot and little cul-de-sac, but there were some nice things for sure. But there is no way that price was justified, and it was vacant. So the people had their house priced too high. They weren't living there, so they had extra expenses, I'm sure. I don't know where they were living, but they had that. It was just sitting there, and they were not negotiable because they somehow got this idea in their head that it was worth X amount. The worst part of that is that not only did that house not sell, but I saw recently that they released that listing. So now it's off the market. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're going to go with another realtor. I don't know if they're going to rent it, but the house didn't sell. Not because it wasn't a great house, it was fine, but because it was priced somewhere that just didn't make sense. Even in a hot market, it was not going to sell. So what I want to do today is talk to you about what determines price and what doesn't determine price. And what doesn't determine price is what we want for the house. And listen, this is where I get you. We've sold houses. The last one we sold out of state was like really, really emotional. I liked it, but I also wanted to sell it, and we knew someone was getting a good deal, and the market was shifting a little bit, and it was like, no, this is what we want to have. So I understand how that can be, but what happened with us is that we also understood that we didn't control the price, that the market kind of did, and we had a wonderful agent who was very helpful to us, and we did end up selling that property. So that brings me to some of the points I want to talk to you about with you guys. Number one is, it does not matter how great you think your house is, or how many wonderful memories you've had, or what you think the neighbor sold their house for, or how your house compares to the neighbor. Unfortunately, none of that matters in the value of your house. What does matter are things that an appraiser is going to look at in terms of coming up with value and also what a buyer thinks. So if there is something that you love about your house, but buyers don't, it doesn't matter what you think, it matters what they think. If you feel like your house is worth so much more because it has, I don't know, whatever, a bigger deck than your neighbors, and your neighbor sold for $500,000, so yours should sell for $550,000. Unfortunately, no matter how great your deck is, it's not a $50,000 better deck. Does that make sense? So again, the market is determined by what buyers are willing to pay, and then for those who are getting in loans, by what an appraiser is willing to value it at. So real quickly, I just want to talk about a few of the things that appraisers look at that are specifically on an appraisal. So if you've seen an appraisal, it has like all these different things listed and then some value that they're giving to you compared to other properties in the area. So some of the things that they're looking at, and we know this because it's literally listed out, are going to be bedrooms, bathrooms, above ground square footage, because the above ground counts more than below ground, like your basement. Garage, does it have a garage? Does it not have a garage? How many cars will your garage hold? Is it attached and detached? All that is covered under the element of garage. Location, where is it located to other comps? So in other words, if you have a house on 123 Main Street on one end of the county, they're not going to compare it to a house on 123 Main Street on the other end of the county. They want to keep that location similar, so you're kind of comparing apples to apples in terms of what that location offers. One thing that is not a line item per se is like updates, but that certainly plays into that. And so an update could be valued differently. I'm not an appraiser, I'm not going to get into that, but a house, you have two houses that are identical, one's updated, one is not. The updated one always holds more value in the mind of a buyer, which is why people buy flip houses so often. They like the look of it, so that is going to make a difference. I can't give you a dollar amount value for any of these things. Again, I'm not an appraiser, and it's kind of past the scope of this, but I do just want to let you know that those things all factor into the value of your home. The other thing is that, remember, because even though we have ideas of what we want for our house, we don't determine the value. We need to trust our realtor, because here's the thing. You picked them. So if you picked them, then you should trust them to give you guidance on the price. If you don't trust them to give you guidance on the price, then you're probably using the wrong realtor. So you want to listen to your realtor's guidance on what to price that house at, because they are aware of the value of the different things and what appraisers are looking for and what buyers are looking for. If you don't feel comfortable with that, then find a different agent. Also, let's say that you're like, I want, $1 million, and your agent says it's worth $500,000. If they list it for $1 million, then they're doing what you want for whatever reason. Maybe they just want their sign in the yard. That happens because then they want a buyer to call them, and they know your house isn't going to sell, but they're going to sell them something else. It's unfortunate, but I see that happen. Maybe they're just afraid to tell you no because you're so adamant this is what your house is worth, and this is what you're not going to like. I'm actually going to say this. Shame on you. You need to trust their opinion, because their job is to sell your house. And if your price is double what they're saying, then of course it's not going to sell. And then guess what? You get mad at them. Now, realtors also need to learn how to, make sure they're showing you comps and things, and we'll discuss that in a minute, but make sure that you use their guidance. The other thing is that you need to have them show you comparables. Some realtors will go in, they'll see your house one time, because I've heard people tell me this. They saw my house one time, they spelled out a number, that was that. They didn't show me sold houses, they didn't show me what other things were selling for in terms of what they looked like or where they were in location to mine, or they didn't even come look at my house before they came to list it. It's good for them to see your house and then do comparables and then show you the comparables so that you can actually see, and then when they're giving you a number, that's going to make sense, and then you can determine from there what you think. Those are all the pieces of determining the price, and then you can get a good price that's going to help your house to sell. Because just like this house we were talking about that my client saw that didn't sell, you don't want that to be your house. And houses that are priced right may, keyword is may, get multiple offers, and may, the keyword is may, sell for more than list price, and may, and the keyword is may, sell on day 1 or day 2. That's not a guarantee, but everything is more likely to sell better or have better terms when it's priced correctly. So I hope that helped. I do want to give you a few takeaways though first. The first takeaway is if you don't trust your realtor's opinion of value, you need to find another realtor because you're just not going to work together. Now, I'm not saying go find someone who tells you what you want to hear. I'm saying if you feel like they're not giving you good information, then you should look at their information, see if it makes sense whether you like it or not, but don't list with somebody that you feel like they're giving you wrong information and then you're just mad at them the entire time. That makes no sense. The other thing is they're the professional, so trust them. If you don't trust them, like I just said, find somebody else. And the final thing is just remember that it doesn't matter what you want for your house. It matters what the market says it's worth. And when you're looking at those comparables that are printed out, now it's making sense. Like, oh, okay, I can see how they got this price. Oh, okay, well, this makes sense. And so by having that printout and being able to look at those, you can know how your house is priced. Let it be factual opinion based on the data of the homes and not what you perceive you want. And those are all of my tips for you. And I hope you have a great day, and I can't wait to give you more information next week.